Hello YouTube, the Eye of Stone here, and as the title of this video suggests, today we are all going straight to the top. That is, straight to the top of Angelwatch, the Mechanist Tower in Dayport as seen during the Thief 2, Thief the Metal Age mission, Life of the Party. I have it on the authority of a friend of mine who is well versed in Dromed that at least among the Thief 2 original missions that the skybox for the Angelwatch Tower is the highest exterior space. Apparently Soulforge Cathedral, from the top of the cathedral to the basement to the lowest sub-basement is that's the greatest distance in an absolute sense, but in terms of a traversable outside distance, Angelwatch is, as it were, the Everest of the Thief games. And apparently it really actually there's different units in Thief 3 than there are in Thief 1 and 2, but if you line them up next to each other, Angelwatch also dwarfs just about anything in Thief 3 as well. So what we are going to do is, without modifying the level in any way, shape, or form, we're going to get up to the top and then back down safely. So how are we going to do this? Well, I have had, let me back up a minute and say that if you've watched my videos over the years, you know I'm always trying to climb on things. And obviously for all that time, I've had my eye on Angelwatch. And with that window on the 4th floor that empties out onto that ledge, with the fact that you can fire a vine arrow into the pedestal of the angel statue, the tower was always kind of almost taunting me with that yeah, you'd like to, but forget about it type of thing. So I was talking about it with my friend, and he mentioned something to me which I had not heard about before, called flare elevatoring. Now, I'm sure there's many people watching this who know what flare elevatoring is. I can tell you that in all my years of playing Thief, I was unfamiliar with flare elevatoring. Now, what flare elevatoring is, we will get to that in detail during the footage. I'll give a full explanation of what flare elevatoring is and how you do it while we're watching me do it. Before I go any further, let me just say that if you want to skip to the highlights, to the good parts of this video, there's links in the description below. Check those out. If you just want to see the good parts, go ahead and click on those now. Flare elevatoring is not a fast technique. At least when I do it, it's not fast. I'm sure there's people who can do it faster than I can, but the ascent is not a fast one. What I managed to pull off in summary here is I get up to the top of the spire of Angelwatch, which it looks like just a decorative point on the top of the spire. It's actually a lot wider than it looks, even though most of it's like a conical surface and you can stand on it. Most of the surface is invisible except for the point of the spire itself. You can stand on that. From there to the top, the skybox itself, it's just a little bit taller than Garrett. So we get up on the spire itself. We also get up to the top of the skybox at some distance from the spire. We actually do that first. We go up on top of the spire itself second. And having done all this, I then am able to get us back down safely. So, kind of as a tribute to earlier futile attempts to get up this building, we're going to be taking off, as it were, from a box ramp I created on the 4th floor ledge. This box ramp made use of all the boxes I could find in the rooftops area of this level, plus all the boxes in Angelwatch itself. There's a fair number of those arranged as you see here. And because I'm such a precision engineer, I managed to shave off a whole 10 box heights worth of our ascent, which I can assure you is negligible. So, with all this being said, hang on for dear life. We're going to jump right in. Here we go. Okay. If you listen carefully, you can hear two nobles. Can you hear him whistling and humming? Things are quiet up here. The higher up you go, they don't have the environmental sound effects up here. Okay, so select the flare. Now watch. Just watch me do this a couple times. You want to save after each successful rung. Okay. Now, this does not work for me every single time. I mess up plenty. The technique works, it just requires a high amount of precision. See? So, if you reload, you can reliably save your progress. One thing I want to point out, don't hit quick save the absolute instant you get up a rung. Give it a few seconds. If you stay airborne for a few seconds, it's safe to go ahead and save. But if you quick save on a faulty flare, then you're shot until your most recent save slot, which hopefully is at the beginning of your ascent at the earliest. You don't want to lose all your progress, so you want to wait till you know that you're good to go before you save. Now, how do you do this right? Well, my buddy and I talked about several different techniques. There was a question about whether this is a hands on the mouse or hands off the mouse technique. And after experimenting with both, at first I thought it was a hands off the mouse technique, but it's actually for me it was a hands on the technique. What you want to do is you want to start by looking straight up. And let's say to look up, you would pull backwards on the mouse. What you want to do is you want to pull backwards on the mouse till you're looking straight up. And when you press R to drop, as it were, the flare onto your head, which is what you're doing. You're not throwing the flare, you're just pressing R. Don't throw the flare. Just press R to drop the flare. When you press R, you want to be pulling back. You want to already be fully looking up and pulling back on the mouse. That's the only way it worked for me. So then what you do is, let's say to look down, you push the mouse forward and you bring it to the point where you're fully looking down and you can't look down anymore. You still want to be pushing on the mouse when you click to pick the flare beneath you up. Now, what I found is that that's actually harder than going up. It really required, for me, it really required a lot of coordination to time pressing the space bar so you drop the flare, you drop the flare, you look down, you press space bar, and you click to pick up the flare. And you really have to time your actions almost perfectly. What I found is that press the space bar and then lift off it. Almost complete your jump, as it were, upwards before you click to pick up the flare beneath you. Sometimes you can even pick up that flare after you have just totally completed your little ascent and you're now hanging off the flare that you just deployed. That can work. What I found that works the best is if you jump upwards and pick up the flare beneath you in what is basically one fluid motion. As fluid as you can possibly make it, that's what worked best for me. Now, what's actually happening here? If I understand what my buddy told me correctly, the flare that you drop above you is sort of inside of you, as it were, and it's a surface that you can stand on. This is just an idiosyncrasy of certain objects in the game. By the way, this also works with keys, and I believe in addition to that there are some other objects that it can work with in addition. Apparently, historically, keys are really what this was primarily used for. What was primarily used for this technique. As for Thief 1, apparently there's some levels where flare elevatoring will work and some levels where it won't work. I'm not sure about that. I haven't tested any of that. But apparently in Thief 1 it was more of a key thing than a flare thing, and maybe in Thief 2 as well. Flares worked a lot better for me. What I found was that some keys, I did test keys. I don't have the footage of those tests. Whoops. I don't have the footage of those tests, but what I found is that for me, flares work better than keys. Okay. Let's see, what else? This really started to work reliably when I got the hang of picking up the flare beneath me. This could be subjective, but it seems to me that you do not want to have a ladder of flares beneath you. For one, you need to take the flares with you if you want to continue to ascend. Two, it really seemed to me that if you left at first I was like, okay, let's just see if I can climb. We'll worry about going back for the ones I've used later. It really seems that this is much more stable if you take the one below you. Again, that might be subjective. I don't know if there's actually any validity to that statement whatsoever, but there it is. So, again, prior to beginning this full ascent, which I do in stages, by the way. At this the first thing we're doing is we're getting to the base of the roof, and I'm accomplishing this by elevatoring right here to this wall, and that surface, that diagonal green metal surface, it's steep, and if you don't move, you will fall right off of it, but it is just enough that you can actually walk up it and then vault over that safety rail up there and pull yourself up onto the base of the roof. So, and then once we get up there, I'm going to explore around a little bit. That was the first stage in this undertaking. I think that over the course of this video, you will see me get a lot better with getting it right most of the time. Again, when this footage was shot, I had literally been trying this for slightly less than 2 days. Okay, that obviously didn't work, so we need a little bit more height. At this point, I was really worried about whether or not A, I was going to be able to interface with that surface, and B, is it just too steep? But fortunately, it's doable. See, I'm considering here. Maybe one more. Anyway, I think you're gonna see me get better at this. I had probably done a whole 4 tests, 2 here. My first thought was to sort of set up a sterile test environment at the base of the precious cargo freight elevator, because that seemed like sort of a neutral situation, but I didn't have enough about it. That didn't work. So what I did was that ledge where the boxes are, the first thing I tried to do was to ascend to that, and then I got to the base of the Angel, and now here I am. Here I am vaulting over the safety railing, and we are now on the base of the roof of Angelwatch. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to explore, show you this level of the roof in the round, and then continue upwards. Now, this is plenty high already. This is already nosebleed territory. Now, what I do, after I explore up here, what I do is I basically go up against the wall that leads up to the pyramid shape, and I go straight up. Now, that will take me right to the top of the skybox. Once you get there, and you'll see this because I stop to look at the spire often, when you get to the top, you are a great distance away from the spire. I'll have a little surprise for you at that point too. But the point I would make is this pyramid up above us right here, it's taller than it looks from this perspective. It's a lot taller than it looks from the ground level, and it's a lot taller than it looks from here. And the same is true of the spire. The spire is huge. And see, there's a little rooflet there. There's like a window there. We're going to look at that in a minute. But the spire is massively tall. So it is still actually a very long way to the top. We're going to reach the base of the spire and walk around there, and we're going to stand on top of the spire. And from the tip of the absolute top tip of the spire to the top of the skybox, if I recall what my friend told me, it isn't even 2 full garret heights. And we will test that when we get up there. So, you know, you have to master the technique, but otherwise it's not a terribly complicated technique. It's just for me it required a degree of precision And obviously the stakes are quite high. You can see there's some red alarm lights sticking out of the back of it. I don't know what that's about. I also don't know what this little platform we're on here is about, but there it is. Maybe they had initially some plans for this backside of the structure. I don't know. You definitely want to save often. But otherwise, if you have any interest in playing Thief, you can learn how to do this. This is, it's not actually that difficult. So we are going to continue our ascent. It is from here still going to be a very long ascent. So I will be back later, and I'm just going to have some pleasant ambient music for the time being. I will be back later. Hey everybody, I am back, and we are getting very close to the top now, just about a few more to go. So, who knew that Dayport sits on the event horizon of a black hole? This is fairly nerve-wracking. But this is what you see is what you get. This required no modification to the level whatsoever. No Dramid, no clipping mode, no messing with the end settings or anything like that. This is all in game. We're real close right now. That flare may have bounced off the top of the skybox already. Let's see. Here I switched to scouting orbs. Yep, you see how they're bouncing? So you can't fire arrows from on a flare, but I think if you look very carefully, I was visible in that shot just as a tiny little speck. So Garrett can ascend no higher from this point. This is as high as you can legitimately get in this skybox. We are, for all intents and purposes, at the top. Let's see. Let's try one more time. Nope. And down I go. So this begs a very relevant question. How do you get back down from here? Well, you can. There's several ways, actually. One thing about flare elevatoring that I have not as of now mastered is apparently it is possible to descend using flares, and that's awesome. I did not pull that off this time, but there is something else that I pretty much have the hang of, and we wanted to visit the spire itself, so let's go do that right now. There we go. Took a little bit of damage, but that's okay. I have healing potions. And here we are at the base of the spire on the upper part of the roof of Angelwatch. So, we'll have a brief look-see around here. Not much to see, but you can bask in the purple glow. And what we're going to do is we're going to get right up against the spire and begin what I guess is the third. We're going to ascend along the spire so that we can stand on the top rather, of the highest tip of the spire. Now, what you see does not exactly correspond to the object itself. Part of this object is visible, part of it's invisible, and that affects how you climb it, but it is climbable. So I'm going to put on a little more music because this is also going to take a minute, but I will see everybody from atop the spire. Okay, we are fast closing in on the top of the spire, and we are in a position where we're going to be able to get right onto it. Just a few more here. It's a little bit tricky to see exactly when you get on level with it. Again, this tip of the spire, it's a bigger shape than it looks. Most of it's invisible. And here we are standing atop the tip of the spire of Angelwatch. Again, it's not 2 garrets tall, I believe. I think it's just a little bit more than 1 garret tall. Let's see what that's all about. Okay, watch. See, we're taking damage because these fire arrows literally have nowhere to go. Okay, so the spire is not the place to do it, but we're going to get all the way back down safely by going back exactly the way we came. Now you notice I've reloaded from out beyond the spire. And so we go from the top of the skybox, we skip the base of the spire and just go back to the base of the roof. And not too long to catch my breath, but from the base of the roof, we're going to go back to the box ledge from which we started this whole shenanigan to begin with. Like so. Save here because you can have slight mishaps with that vine arrow if you don't grab it. And one more jump. And now we are back down safely, having returned exactly the way we came. I hope everybody has enjoyed this video, and more importantly, I hope you try flare elevatoring for yourself. Good luck, and I will see everybody back next time.